Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. On World Tourism Day, it's really an honor to be with you dignitaries. And I'm happy to be I'm always happy to be back in Kerala, this must be said, because I really believe that Kerala is one of the states who are a role model for sustainable tourism, and I'm always impressed on new developments. And I could also see the developments which have been made with the metro, with the e-rishkas, with women driving these rishkas, and also the boats, working with solar energy. These are all, and also resilience, a project of resilience Kochi. All these are things which cannot be underestimated, and I want to thank you all for being part of it. Yeah, so I want to introduce you today to a subject which is maybe totally different from what you have been normally discussing. It's about getting engaged in diversity, equity, and inclusion, a concept which is part of responsible tourism and which has been is globally discussed all over the world right now. I want to make clear from the very beginning that it's not about the cultural intervention, and I still believe, and as you said, the cultural respect. The travelers should also have cultural respect when they visit a destination. This is not the subject. I just want to maybe open your minds for a new approach where diversity can also be embraced while still respecting the cultural history of a country. So, first of all, what does DEI stand for? It's about diversity, equity, inclusion, and it's a concept that includes all the people who are, for the unacceptable reasons, excluded. So diversity is the presence and participation of individuals with varying backgrounds and perspectives, and including those who have been traditionally underrepresented. And I'm sure when you think, you will have a lot of ideas who could that be. So equity, equal access to opportunities, and fair, just, and impartial treatment, and inclusion, a sense of belonging in an environment where all feel welcomed, accepted, and respected. And this is in the heart of any responsible thinking, I think. So, well, equity differs from equality in an important way. While equity assumes that all people should be treated the same, equity takes into consideration a person's unique circumstances. So this is a little difference. So why? The question is, why should a state like Kerala embrace DI? Why is it relevant? First of all, as I already mentioned, it is really discussed internationally right now. ITB Berlin, WTM, Fit2Work, WTTC, GSCC, everybody will have a session on DEI. So we need to know what it is all about. So engagement has become a must in one or the other way in the travel industry, but also in the general corporate world. And it is not always embraced. I'm not saying that in the corporate world everybody says, oh yeah, we want to be diverse, we want to embrace this subject. There is some conservatism trying to block it, but especially tourism, which is a progressive industry, is quite open to the concept. And this is very important, the new generation, and the upcoming new generation of customers and travelers expect a different and more open approach. They won't travel to a destination where they know that people are not open to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because there are a lot of allies also. It's not only the people who are discriminated against, but it's also their friends and allies. And the younger generation, they travel together. Things have changed also in this area. So, and I see also here in India that there are a lot of private industry, hoteliers, carriers, and cultural institutions who have a real strong interest in opening up to the concept. So I think it should be also governmentally embraced, because the DI engagement to let people know that you are open can bring a new inflow of affluent travelers, because especially also if we talk about the LGBT community, it's a real strong affluent traveler group, and I'm sure the weddings you were talking about, once it would be legalized by the Supreme Court, or also if it's only for a feast, not a real wedding in that case, I'm sure that the gay community, they love this kind of wedding of insurance, and they are very affluent customers, as I said. So, for a company to get engaged in DI also raises the competitive capability, and also for a destination, and it's also a thing which can strengthen your workforce internally. Because if you have a diverse workforce, things change. And first of all, and I have some slides, I'm saying the same, that being responsible means being actively committed to society as a whole, and to foster tourism developments which give like dignity, security, and justice for all the participants. So social as well as ecological responsibility needs to be embedded in all tourism activities. I think this is something here in Kerala everybody knows very well. So there is no true sustainability without diversity and equity inclusion embedded in it, and justice. And nowadays what everybody says is that it's not anymore a nice to have, but it's true sustainability, which balances the total bottom line of people, planet, and profit. So, and it's part of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is legally binding basis for corporate policy. And the international human rights laws lay down obligation which businesses and destinations are bound to respect. So we need to integrate them also in our supply chain. Because, and this is also interesting for your business, I think, there are new regulations, for instance, from the European Union. Companies must ensure compliance with human rights among their entire supply chain. There's this new, maybe you've heard about it, Supply Chain Act. And this includes the obligation to annually report on their social engagement performance. So this supplier code of conduct, and in all the companies where you work with the German source market, for instance, or other European source markets, contain this internationally accepted principle on ethical conduct, health and safety, and also the social aspects. So tourism may need to check and map the due diligence of human rights in their supply chains in the destinations you work with. So because the companies you work with, they will have to report on the performance of their partners here in Kerala. So, yes, I'm just one slide. Human Rights Roundtable for Human Rights in Tourism is an initiative which really helps to foster human rights, because we need synergies. It's a multi-stakeholder approach. So if you're interested, you can check that out. And yeah, it's also part of the UN sustainability goals, because we all talk about the SDGs. The societal dimension should not be neglected for the environmental dimension. GSCC, you know, I was on the board for many years for Global Standards for Sustainability and Travel Inclusion. They have also added now missing principles. And yeah, it's the UN has also this policy of leave no one behind. So the focus is on overcoming discrimination and inequalities. That means equal access to public transport, public spaces, but also equal access to work, housing, etc. for marginalized communities. And it's also a move towards gender equality. And I think we all still have to work a lot on gender equality in tourism if it comes to the management. So, DI engagement for human rights, for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is, there are so many unconscious bias, there are so many, or even structural racism or homophobia or whatever, which we carry within us, all of us, but which have to be addressed somehow. People are discriminated against because of gender, because of women, because of age, because of or ethnic background, because of the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your religious beliefs, your physical ability or neurodiversity, which people sometimes don't see, medical condition, your appearance, and the social status. And this is against human rights. So the goal of DI policies is nothing else but to create a more diverse, equitable and inclusive space for travelers, but also in your back office, for your staff and your partners. And in Europe, where we have a really problem to find workforce, it's a competitive thing. If you embrace AI, candidates will seek you out. They won't go to the conservative company. So, can responsible tourism products be truly sustained when designed by a homogeneous group of people? Can they effectively respond to all matters and concerns of diverse community members, especially of those of marginalized groups? If you want to cater to the black traveler from the US, for instance, you cannot have white people, white images. And if you also want to attract people, queer people, you have to show couples. You don't need to show them kissing, just show them that they are there together, having fun, traveling around. If you want to be accessible, you need to show people also in wheelchairs, or blind people. I really liked yesterday the singer who was blind. I really appreciated it. So diversity of gender, race, nationality, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity, etc. is a company's workforce, enables it to better represent what the customer base looks like, because your customer base is diverse. So tourism must meet, as I just said, these needs of the customer groups, and do all the promotional material according to that. So, and there have been statistics that companies which implement DI policies and hiring practices to create a more living culture where all employees are welcome and encouraged to thrive, not to hide. These companies respond better, according to research, to challenges. Any challenges? They are more effective in problem solving. Enhance business innovation, increase productivity, and raise the competitive capability, build better reputation and positive brand image, increase customer loyalty, and you get top talent recruitment. And there is a lower employee turnover because people feel they can be who they are. And you would not be ranked back as ignorant, that's also important. And in the long term, it increases profitability and reduces costs. So, well, I think I don't have too much time, but if you want to know more about it, we can talk about it later. The top management, this is key, has to be championing the efforts. If there's no commitment from the management, things won't work. And you need, of course, as in every business strategy, your mission, guiding framework, you need fairness and equity principles. You need to guarantee accountability. you have to do something to mitigate implicit bias and outline non-discrimination and anti-harassment policies so that people know where to go, whom to address. That's very important. And this has to be done. It doesn't make sense if you say we do it, and then somebody, a woman, for instance, is getting sexually harassed experience in it, so she needs that something will be done, somebody will support her. The management is behind it. This is very important. So, and yes, trainings for everybody, for all. And you should also check existing best practices because there are a lot of people who are already doing the right thing. So some people say, why don't you just work on a training for diversity, equity, inclusion for everybody? People who need medical help, people who are black or people of color, or so why don't you work with everybody, gender equality, but you know, there are special vulnerabilities in each of the marginalized groups. And so you need to address authentically each of the marginalized. So in this case, with Queer Destinations, that's a company I'm also representing now as head of international relations, is like a company which was founded by activists, people who suffered from being discriminated against. And they want to be the bridge that connects the private travel industry, destinations, governments or institutions, as well as people and collectives with the LGBT community in that case. And how is this facilitated? It's facilitated by providing strategic advice, of course, and the most comprehensive, sensitizing awareness and training program for 100% of the staff. Because if you don't train 100% of the staff, the gardener or the car driver might be not positive if they see like a gay couple. And it doesn't mean displaying affection when you travel. That's private. This needs to be respected. But at least to treat everybody like everybody else with the same respect. This is nobody wants anything else. No special pampering. But to know to do that and to know the do's and don'ts, you need to train 100% of your staff and not only the guy on the front desk. So, and when you are trained, that's what Predestination does. There is a distinction, like a standard of excellence, internationally recognized, which you can put on your website or in the entrance of your hotel, and people who arrive will feel safe and respected. That's all. So I know I have to finish. So, coming back to Kerala, I think tourism is a major contributor, to Kerala's economy. And the tourism industry, we have all seen that can be a vehicle for positive change, build bridges, and play a unique role in advancing human rights as well. And I just went to see one of the old synagogues here in Kochi, and there was a sign saying, a blessing called religious diversity. Kerala society has looked upon religious diversity as a wealth and never as a problem. And this is very moving, and I think, so why not embracing diversity as a general concept, not only religious. So thank you, Nandi. And let's stay in touch. Thank you.